Alright, it's been a weird year. And this is going to be it. This is my last video for my freshman level students. I'll be going over what we're going to do for these last 2 weeks. But before I get into it, I just want to say how proud I am of all of you. You guys, out of every class, probably pulled the short stick more than anybody. Alright, you didn't get to celebrate your 8th grade graduation. Okay, you didn't get to step on campus, for your first year of high school. Some of you did towards the end, but even then, it just wasn't the same, and you guys really have nothing to compare it to, and, I just want to applaud you all for working so hard and so diligently, making the best out of a very bad situation, and this year was definitely trying for all of us, and I can tell that you guys have grown. I can tell that you guys have learned something about yourselves and about the world around you. And even though this year was not short on struggle, you guys really impressed me and blew me away with how resilient you were. So, I just want to applaud you and wish you the best of luck as you pass on to your sophomore year. And hopefully I get to see some of you guys again as juniors. Got my fingers crossed. But anyways, this is what we're going to be doing this week. Okay, first of all, last day for late work is coming up on June 7th, right at 11:59 on Monday night. You need to have everything turned in, and here's the list of the assessments that I've recorded into the grade book. So this is what I've used to evaluate your performance. Make sure you get them all in there. Now what we're doing this week is we're going to learn some more poetry forms. Specifically, we're going to be learning about Shakespearean sonnets. There are many different types of sonnets, but the most popular is probably the Shakespearean. And this is defined as a poem with 4 stanzas. The first 3 stanzas, so the first 3 poem paragraphs, are quatrains, okay, 4 lines each. And the last stanza, you can see down here, only has 2 lines. It's a couplet, a rhyming couplet. And the way that you know a Shakespearean sonnet is a Shakespearean sonnet is the way that the rhymes work, and again, how those lines are formed. And so I'll read this Shakespeare sonnet 29 out loud so you can kind of get a feel for it. When in disgrace with fortune in men's eyes, I all alone beweet my outcast state, and trouble doth heaven in my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. Wishing me like one more rich in hope, feathered like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy contented least. Yet in those thoughts myself almost despising, haply I think on thee, and then my state, like the lark at break of day arising, from soul and earth sings hymns at heaven's gate, for thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. Okay, now just listening to that, sounds kind of old-timey, right? Sounds a little dated. Okay, it might be a little difficult for us to make sense of this because this is written in early modern English. So it's the same kind of English that we use in today's day and age, only it's a very, very early form of it. But if you read right here, we have the sonnet pulled into a more modern text, and you learn that this sonnet tells a story. All right, we have our speaker, a man, and he spends about the first 2 stanzas kind of complaining about his lot in life. All right, he's troubled because he's not as smart as others. We see him comparing him to those people who are rich in hope, rich in money, rich in a lot of things. But then we see his attitude kind of change here in the 3rd stanza. He says, all I have to do is think about you, and my attitude changes, and I think I'm the luckiest guy on the planet. So this is actually a love song. This is actually a love poem. And, he ends it at the end here. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. So I remember how lucky I am to be in love with you, and I wouldn't switch that for anything in the world. I wouldn't, choose to be a king above that. So, yeah, sonnets can be a little tricky because you have to get the rhyme scheme down just right. And the way that we describe rhyme scheme, and you can see this down here in the poem How to Write a Sonnet by Denise Rogers, is that at the end of each line we have a word, and we identify which words rhyme with each other by using letters. So in your first line, your first word at the end of the line, that's going to be your first rhyme. And since it's first, it's automatically going to be an A rhyme, okay? Well, as we get new rhymes, we'll apply new numbers to the sounds. So in our second line, so the first line reads, the sonnet form is old and full of dust. Dust is our first rhyme. Anything that rhymes with dust, we're going to assign the letter A. And yet I want to learn to write one well. So the last line, or the last word in that line is well. Does well rhyme with dust? Not so great. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign that rhyme the letter B. Okay, anything that rhymes with dust is A. Anything that rhymes with well is B. To learn new forms and grow is quite a must. Must? Does that rhyme with dust? It sure does. So are we going to assign that a new letter? No, we are not. We are going to assign that the letter A because must rhymes with dust. And then going on, but I will learn it quickly, I can tell. Okay, tell rhymes with well, so we want to assign it the letter B. Now, as we keep going, we're going to look at the rhyme sounds, and the way that you know a Shakespearean sonnet is a Shakespearean sonnet is because it has many different rhymes, okay? It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different rhyme sounds. And in the first quatrain, we only have 2 rhyme sounds. We have the A's and the B's. A, B, A, B. In the second quatrain, okay, we're going to have 2 different rhyme sounds, but they're still going to be in that same pattern. Instead of A, B, A, B, we're going to have C, D, C, D. All right? C for hand, because hand doesn't rhyme with anything up here. And D for rhyme, because rhyme doesn't rhyme with anything else. Okay? But if we read, we see that hand rhymes with command, and rhyme rhymes with time. So we'll assign those the same letter, so on and so forth. So hopefully that makes rhyme scheme a little more clear for you guys. But anyways, I'm going to go through, I'm going to start from the beginning here, and I'm going to read this sonnet to you because it explains how to write a sonnet. So the sonnet form is old and full of dust, and yet I want to learn to write one well. To learn new forms and grow is quite a must, but I will learn it quickly, I can tell. And so I sit today with pen in hand, composing 3 new quatrains with a rhyme. The rhyme flows like the wind at my command, the A-B form consumes my time. But I'm not done until there's 14 lines, 1 ending couplet after 3 quatrains. I've tried to write this new form several times. The effort's huge. I have to rack my brain. But I persist. My 14 lines now done. I wrote my poem. My sonnet work is one. All right? And so that is a sonnet about writing a sonnet. And, you know, I'm not going to get too technical here. I'm not going to grade you guys on anything like meter. But if you want to learn more about how Shakespeare uses sounds, how he uses patterns and rhythms in his poetry, you know, meter does matter. And if this were a longer unit, I would definitely jump into this a little more deeply. But if you watch this guy, this British guy, he explains why Shakespeare sounds like Shakespeare. And it's really cool. I want you guys to watch that. But the activity that we're going to work on this week that will be due on Monday, I'm going to have you guys write your own Shakespearean sonnet. And you see it's going to be real easy peasy for you. You're going to write each of the 14 lines in each in each spot. Bumbling and stumbling. Anyways, you can see that there's room for your first quatrain, your second, your third, and your rhyming couplet. And so I'm excited to see what you come up with. So that leads us into our final. And for our final, what we're going to work on is we're going to work on a poetry slam. Okay, now this isn't going to be a real poetry slam. Poetry slams are these fun competitions. They started several decades ago, I think it says right there. It says in Chicago, 1984. And it was a competition where poets were able to read their poems out loud. They were able to turn it into a performance. And the audience would participate as well. They would cheer, they would laugh, they would cry. And at the end of it, you know, everyone in the audience would vote which poem they liked the best. And they would determine the Poetry Slam winner through that. And so this is a really interesting TED Talk about Grand Slam poetry champion Harry Baker. He's going to share with you 3 of his poems, one of which won him a pretty big award. And he's going to explain what slam poetry is all about, because what we're going to do for our final, if you go to the next page here, is you're going to participate in a discussion where you share some poetry with the rest of the class in a discussion forum. Okay, so it's not like real slam poetry, okay? But still, you're going to be sharing your poetry with the class. You're going to be sharing it with others, and you will respond to 2 of their poems and comment and leave feedback and be encouraging. Now, here's the catch. All right, it can't be a poem that you've already turned in for a grade. All right, you have to come up with a new poem. All right, I'm not really picky though. You can choose any form of poetry that we've discussed so far, which includes blackout poetry, haikus, limericks, acrostic poetry, free verse, and the Shakespearean sonnet that we just learned together. I do require that it be a 10-line poem. Now that's going to be really hard to do, a 10-line poem with a 3-line haiku, because we need to be true to the form. So if you're really passionate about writing haikus, if you choose to submit that for your final, you'll have to write 4 haikus, okay? And that means you're going to have to write 2 extra lines, but that's just how it has to be. So, you'll have to do a little math here. But it's okay if you mix and match. Say you want to do 2 haikus and 1 limerick. Okay, that adds up to 11 lines of poetry. That's fine. It's up to you. All right. I know it'd be really hard to count our lines if we're doing blackout poetry, so it might be a good idea to maybe do a line of blackout poetry and maybe 3 haikus. You can mix and match, do whatever fits best for you. But yeah, do share your poems with everyone else. There's also an extra credit opportunity, which I don't really do extra credit. I'd rather you just do the stuff that I assign you. It's not really an extra credit opportunity. It's more of an excuse out of doing another activity. So if you choose to record yourself reading your poetry out loud, if you choose to do a performance like you would see in a slam poetry competition, you are excused from doing one of any of the poetry assignments that we've done in this unit. So say you don't feel like doing Shakespearean sonnets. All right, if you choose to record yourself, you don't have to. All I ask is that you have the camera on you fully and completely. Okay, I want to be able to see your full face. Don't lift it up like right up here where I can only see like your ceiling and your eyebrows. And make sure that you're in a well-lit room. But that's it. That's going to be your final. Okay, you guys will have plenty of class time to work on this. Many of you guys will get this finished before finals week, which is okay. I know some of you guys are probably leaving a little bit early for your vacations. Do what you need to do. But that's going to be it for this year. And, I'm going to try not to get a little teary here. But, I love you all. And, even though it's been difficult to establish the regular teacher-student relationship this year because of COVID-19 and because of distance learning and the pandemic, you guys are still part of this amazing elite group of students that are my students. And just know that I support you 110%, not just this year, but in the future as well. Okay, you'll always have an advocate in me. And I wish you the best of luck, and I wish you a wonderful summer. Thanks.